it's tough for Blizzard to take notice otherwise. I mean, I can't really say if it's tough. Maybe if you just email Blizzard, they look into it right away. I'm sure if you email their esports department, they will get on that right away. Um,
Yeah,
so
I think they
I
would.
don't know.
Yeah.
I get maybe even for tournaments you shouldn't do that. Maybe just Reddit isn't the place for it. The problem is like everyone on Reddit thinks it's really interesting to read posts like that because it is a lot of the time, and they wanna read that post and then get this justice boner of like jumping on the bandwagon of everyone hating on this like company or this person. So like I get why those posts are popular. I get why people want them. It's just like the whole. I basically made a video with my thoughts on it. I talked about it on stream with some colorful language, and then I made a YouTube video on it.
Oh, colorful language. I
Yeah.
like euphemisms as much as the next guy, but that was pretty good.
Okay, well, Noxious, what are your thoughts on it? I mean, I think a lot of people did watch your videos, and I mean, it was like the top of Reddit for
Yeah.
either your stream or
Yeah.
your video was the top of Reddit for like a couple
If-
days now.
If you
so.
just find that topic though on the Hearthstone subreddit, the key thing there is like Reynad accuses the Hearthstone subreddit of being witch hunting assholes, to which their response is
I love your
witch
Hunting
summaries.
hunting
Reynad.
the person criticizing.
Oh goodness, this is.
I love your
irony is
summaries,
real.
dude.
Irony is
Your
good.
Like,
summaries
that
are
entire
awesome.
thread is them proving
Yeah.
me right, but they don't see it.
What? Oh my God. That's so funny.
Oh,
All right,
that's good
Noxious.
shit. That's good shit.
All right, what are your thoughts
Oh, man.
on it?
Well, I mean, I feel like the censorship thing is interesting because there's been other games that have like divided the subreddit where you talk about the video game like on one subreddit, and then if you want to talk about drama, you go on like Reddit, on the Forsense subreddit. Like there's an unofficial one where people just go
The
and they talk about whatever the
Forsense
fuck they want. But as soon as it comes to the main subreddit of that game, you want to kind of keep the game. Like you want to keep the talk, I guess, related to the video game itself, and like I can totally understand that. I'm not for censorship. I just feel like maybe the place to discuss these matters is not the subreddit of Hearthstone, considering it's essentially like it's basically where people talk about the game. Like if I play WoW and I want WoW information or talk about stuff, I can go on MMO Champion, but there's still more stuff to talk about if I go to the gen forums. Of course, if I want PvP, arena junkies, yada yada. But when it comes to Hearthstone specifically, I just go on, Hearthstone Reddit. Like that's where I go. The general forums are a cesspool of Chinese bots posting random like strings of letters, and it's just ridiculous. There's almost no modding happening there. The MVPs, I mean, they're doing, I guess, their job, but nothing's really going on that's interesting. It's mostly people coming up like with random rage posts, like, "Oh my god, I get fucking destroyed by a priest who thought stole. Thought stole is broken. Nerf thought steal." Or Master Swordsmith buffed a Wisp 7 times, but like Master Swordsmith or Wisp should be nerfed. It's a cesspool. So I go to Reddit for those kind of posts, like discussion about the game that's at least of a level that I think is going to be nice. But for some reason, for the last week, has been very little about the game and a lot about the drama that surrounds specific individuals. It all started with Masan. You could see it as like the specific starting point, but beyond that, I think the topic itself is just you have to be on the receiving end of a witch hunt to like realize just how toxic it is. I think to even start defending it. I don't know.
I think yeah, I know what you mean by that.
I think that like if we ignore the 90% of people who are like fuck you Reynad and look at the actual two counter arguments that a few sane individuals have presented, the two counter arguments are basically number one, well, what do you want to have on the subreddit if you're not going to have drama? It's going to be kind of boring. And number two, if we're not posting it on the subreddit, then like how is justice going to be served, so this is my like counter argument to those two things, I guess, would be like if people want justice to be served, then go through official channels. Blizzard takes things like fake tournaments and Twitch takes things like view botting so incredibly seriously. Like they 9 times out of 10 are aware of it before you are, and in the case of like a tournament doing something scummy or like a person doing something illegitimate, if you approach them about it, like they will look into it 100% of the time. It's like top priority for all these companies. They're not just going to ignore it. Reddit is just a place where like people can physically see people get riled up, and they know that people are aware about the issue, and that's like all it is just wanting a bigger audience for your shitstorm.
Okay, so
Like,
all right, so
Yeah.
let
go
me.
ahead.
I definitely have opinions on this one, and I think they're a little. They're the opposite of yours, Andre. So this should be interesting. So I actually think that those posts should be made, but I mean should be allowed. I think the changes actually to the subreddit are good, and I think there still may be some edits that or more bullets that need to be added to the rules that contain some of the craziness whenever it does happen. But I think the initial threads talking about like if Mazhan view bots or if somebody is, doing something they should not be doing, right? Not necessarily personal stuff, which they did include in the rules, like not somebody, whatever, sleeping with somebody and that sort of thing. But in terms of, their careers, streaming and stuff that they have in the rules, I think it's important to talk about that because you're right that you can go and report it to certain channels like Mazhan's view botting, go talk to Twitch, right? And you can do that sort of thing. But we know that Twitch is working on it, and it just continues to happen, right? And we know that they're doing something because it's not running rampant right now. Like you would think that there would be a ton of viewbots just like everywhere right now, but they're doing something to like contain it. But there are definitely evidence of some weird, these weird viewers slash people in chat that seem to look like bots, and that just keeps coming up and up. It just keeps reoccurring, right? That sort of thing. So initially talking about it, I think is fine because, in terms of justice, in terms of trying to, like, can they make these viewbots go away? No, they can't make them go away. But can they like reveal that possibly, like this guy isn't as popular as he is? So when you do see him at the top, like make a decision. Like, do you, want to go and click on this link and watch the stream or not? You know what I mean? It's just making people aware of that. It's, they're not being, I don't want to say deceived, but there's something a little bit more to it possibly, right? Just making people aware of that. Can it turn into something that we talk about every day? Yeah, and that's where it starts getting like, okay, this is kind of bad for the
fuck.
Yeah, this is bad for the community. Yeah, when it's a daily thread, then okay, yeah, the mods need to do something about this. When it's like 25 threads only talking about Hassan's bots, okay, the mods need to go in and combine all those into one thread. Like I've seen that happened in the StarCraft community. Like the mods would go combine all the similar threads and make them into just one thread, so it's not like the freaking entire subreddit, right? But talking about these things, I mean, it's part of the community, you know what I mean? And the thing about Hearthstone is, and this is what Noxious is getting at, is that we don't have a community site. Our community site is Reddit, right?
It's
and
Reddit. That's basically what we do everything.
But that's kind of fucked up. It's fucked up that Reddit is our community site. Like Reddit is Reddit. Like Reddit's supposed to be this very open environment, like organic environment. Doesn't need a little bit of moderation, sure, but like ideally in a perfect world, it shouldn't need any moderation, right? Like what people want to talk about is what should show up on Reddit. But the fact that it is our community site is where it like screws everything up. Like I know in one of your video, Ray, like you mentioned Blizzard should step in at this point. Like if there's any time to step in, this is the time that Blizzard should step in and say something. But then it's like that just defeats like what Reddit's supposed to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like an open platform.
It's not supposed to be that.
About everything.
Yeah, I only meant that if they're the ones that started this subreddit, which I heard they were.
Right.
But,
I've been told as well. I've been told that they were heavily involved in the moderation and the posting of it, and they can request stuff to be taken down. I don't know about right now. Initially, I think it was moderated heavily by the guys from Curse, and then they stepped down. I don't know if
that's
Blizzard
because they got
took
called
over.
out on it.
Yeah, they got called out on it, but I mean, I don't know
what's disgusting about that? They will always be the biggest Hearthstone site because of the SEO snowball effect by getting an early lead.
Early lead, yeah.
Oh, really?
All I need is one Reddit fall guy, and like boom, the biggest Hearthstone website on Google indefinitely until the end of time.
Because because he was called out on it. Oh my god.
That was so like.
That was the Flash Flux
That's why I'm
thing,
getting
right?
started on Candy Crush. Like next time they do Candy Crush like 3.0, I got like Candy Crush Pwn, and I'm ready to go. I'm just gonna publicize that website.
Yeah.
It's ready already. Like I've got it.
So Ray, I'm gonna just straight up. Does a lot of the feelings you have on this have to do with the Magic Amy thing? I mean, is that
what the Magic Amy thing has to do with it? Is it basically took away any faith that I have in Reddit's ability to give a shit about evidence, So I know that if this is allowed, I know that in the long run, even if 90% of the people they decide to witch hunt are guilty, like, the remaining couple people will be like accused while being innocent, and that is so incredibly awful in my opinion in so many ways that it just shouldn't be allowed. A lot of your argument, from what I heard, is just like wanting a new Twitch feature that says
Twitch feature?
well, yeah,
Like,
you're
what do you
just
mean?
talking about like it should be more known that these people aren't legit or whatever.
Well, I
Um,
mean, like so ideally, we're talking in terms of Masan. I mean, the general
sure.
rule change has more to do with Masan, but with Masan, if Twitch would just filter out those concurrents from showing up, or have a different ranking system that wouldn't put Masan at the top, then we wouldn't even be talking about
Do
viewbots.
you
Like,
do you know?
it's
Okay,
like
there's a guy in the Masan post or in the Reynad, but one of the Reddit posts about the drama that basically explained the VBot system. Basically said that he was involved with it. He's programmed them. He's used them before, and he basically laid it out. And he said that Twitch did crack down after the first wave about a year ago, and the price of a bot went from like 1 cent a
Pennies,
piece
yeah.
to now it's 50 cents per view, and you need two separate bots, one to go into the chat list, one to actually add to the view count. And both of these bots have two individual like things that they do with the code, and basically like explain how it all operates. And what were we talking about? I completely.
I mean, I'm talking about filtering them out. Like, I'm talking about
Filtering out
the
the
end
bots,
all
yeah.
thing is to filter them out.
So what I'm
Yeah.
saying is that like most of the traditional view bots, like you can't just pay $40 and have 100K viewers
Yeah.
and like have that pop up anymore. Like bots are expensive as shit, and it's.
I mean, what are these
This.
services
Twitch
that
has already filtered it out? Is what I'm saying.
what are these services that aren't expensive as shit then? Like, you see all these
Well,
sites
if you do
where
it
it's
yourself,
They're
it's pretty
cracked down
cheap,
on by
I
Twitch.
guess.
Twitch killed them
What?
all.
Yeah,
well,
Twitch really did. Like,
yeah, I
move
know they're
most of
definitely
the
doing a bunch. I mean, don't
Yeah,
get me
they've
wrong.
done a
Like,
bunch
I
of
know
them.
they've done a bunch. Like I said, it would be running rampant right now. We'd see like
Yeah.
10,000 viewers. Like I don't know,
It was
like
for
a
like
ton of
2
them.
weeks, and then they
Yeah.
killed it. You'd see a random RuneScape streamer with 20K every single hour of the day.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
exactly.
okay, so here's the key thing. Like, let's say like I don't really like Masan, right? Let's imagine that crazy world. Or
Imagine that crazy world.
Or
Okay.
Amaz. Let's say Amaz.
Or Amaz,
Don't
that's
really
what I
like
meant.
Amaz.
Okay.
Let's assume
Oh
everybody
boy,
like
this
Amaz.
is gonna be interesting right here.
Let's imagine a crazy reality in which I'm less than pleased with Amaz. So I can go out and I can buy view bots and put them on his channel. Just I have the money to do it. I'll just give him 10K view bots, and I'll do it for 3 months in a row, either because I hate him or because I'm a big fan of him. And then I make an alternate Reddit account and use a proxy, and then I'll make a post. Or here's my evidence on why I think Amaz is view-botting. Look at all these chat views. Oh, this doesn't make sense. And then I make another account, and I'm like, oh, here's more evidence I found about Amaz. And then people start talking about this because it's an Imager album. That is irrefutable, legally
Evidence,
binding
yeah.
evidence. How could they possibly not convict someone based off of a 3-minute YouTube video? Under this system, it's 100% allowed. And what I'm saying at the end of the day is like you're mad about view bots. It's a Twitch issue. Twitch is 100% more informed and more qualified to make decisions about the right way to handle it. The reason that Masan still streams, even if view botting happened in the past or if it still happens, is because Masan, there's no way to prove whether Masan is doing it himself or not. And everyone always says this, and then people just like ignore that argument and move on. Like, at the end of the day, Twitch knows what's best for their community. The people that they've hired are the best in the world at what they do. The people that have pioneered the industry, the people that are actually the best. Like, they're one of the best paying, best companies to work for in fucking Silicon Valley. Like, they're super competent and are more qualified to deal with Masan in the right way and know whether he's actually view botting and how much and in what ways. Way more than your average 15-year-old kid on Reddit. And it's like, how do I put
I mean,
this?
I get that.
There are so
I
many
mean,
Hearthstone subreddits.
Yeah.
If you want to watch Hearthstone VODs, there's a Reddit for that. If you want to talk about competitive Hearthstone, there's a subreddit for that. Why are you not okay with making a Hearthstone drama subreddit? Why does it have to be
On
the
the
biggest
Hearthstone,
fucking
yeah.
audience because you want the most people to hear about this shitstorm? It's just like,
well then, okay. So what do we put on Hearthstone subreddit then?
Drama, all the drama.
No, I'm just saying, like, no, generally speaking, what do we put on the Hearthstone
on a,
subreddit? Is
right,
it
so
just
this is
funny
the
moments
argument number two,
videos?
right? Is it's
And it's
fucking
just,
boring.
yeah. I mean, like,
Is
if you
what
look
are
at the
you putting
traffic
the
on
Hearthstone
this,
Reddit?
yeah,
Look,
it's
so here's the big revelation that a lot of people are missing. Believe it or not, Hearthstone is a fucking mobile game with 5 to 10 minute games that you play casually in your casual time. Like the Hearthstone subreddit where you discuss this fucking children's card game should not be the
Should
place
not.
that you go to for your day-to-day drama. Watch a
Post a
soap
screenshot
opera,
or something,
get a
yeah.
girlfriend, like do anything. Like that Hearthstone subreddit is not supposed to be like your one-stop shop for every source of entertainment in your fucking day-to-day life. It's so stupid that people have that opinion. It's like, oh, I'm bored of seeing the same, oh, I opened a good pack post. I'm bored of seeing which legendary should I craft. It's like, well, then, yeah, check out the Counter-Strike subreddit. Maybe play that game. Maybe do something on Reddit other than, like, expect r/Hearthstone to fulfill every single entertainment need in your life. That's actually has a lot of variety. There's custom cards. There's people showing
Yeah.
cool plays, people showing stream highlights, people doing a lot of stuff that just isn't. People making YouTube videos about like where did this card originate, or here are inconsistencies in Hearthstone, or Ben Brode tweets. There's actually like a billion different things that show up, and just because they bore you doesn't mean that you should like turn the subreddit into a cesspool for your entertainment. That's because because
That's-
of Twitch.
but-
A lot of
I'm gonna
people-
make
so
a post
you're
about
so
that.
here's the
because of
thing.
Twitch, a
So
lot of people have gotten this
God.
impression that Hearthstone is supposed to be super entertaining, and Twitch has made it into more than a game where there's character development. People follow streamers' lives, people follow the drama in the community, they follow the events. Like it's become more than this casual game. But like that specific Reddit forum should just be about discussing the game. It shouldn't be about all this ancillary like.
The noise, yeah, the surrounding noise that has nothing to do with the gameplay itself. Because like the game itself is all about sharing advice, perhaps about specific things. Like there's competitive Hearthstone if you want high level ones, but what about what should I do to get gold? What should I do with this dust? This is the deck I like most. Which class is good for beginner? Screenshots of stuff that happened that you just fucking love that you want to talk to people about. Like even if it ends up being kind of boring, casual stuff compared to watching like let's say a streamer video. Something goes absolutely nuts on that during his game because it's a single image and you don't have the context of it, which I think is what people get bored by, is when it's just image posts all over the place and it brings very little to consume for a long time. I feel like that's what the game should be, like the subreddit should be a little bit more about. I don't know that it has anything to do with censorship though, Chris.
I mean, censorship is it's a little bit strong of a term. It's more of just like what they're filtering out, like what they're being moderated is what they're filtering out. And I don't disagree with like things like a drunk stream where it's, a bunch of craziness going on in a stream, like Reynad stream sometimes, like that shouldn't be on. Yeah, it's something I can understand that argument. That shouldn't be on our Hearthstone, right? But when things like the Masan Viewbot thing, that's a different kind of drama. I mean, drama, there's like different levels of drama, guys, right? There's like stuff that deals with, more like relationship-ish type of things and things that have to do with the streamers. That's one type of drama. But there's also drama that has to do with just, the Hearthstone community, like the viewing community as just, even just watching the players, or if somebody's, cheating at a tournament or, whatever, right? Those things are Hearthstone related, and they don't happen every day. Like you're making it sound like it happens every day. Like it doesn't.
You know how easy it is to mask an argument as like, oh, well, this is important for the greater good of Hearthstone, and this is why it pertains to the health of the game and the community. It's like so easy to justify so much targeted shit talk because of that, and there are any number of reasons that one human being can call another one a scumbag, and just because like if every single one of these posts were on Masan level, I would be totally okay with it. But when it's things like
Pour your
like
heart
the
out.
Adwicta versus Hearth Arena thing.
Okay, that's a good example.
remember
This
that.
is a
That's
really
a
good
very good
example.
one.
Okay.
Sure, so like had the Hearth Arena guy not had the balls to step in and disprove everything, right? Maybe
Yeah.
if he just didn't like being mobbed by random angry internet nerds and he felt more comfortable just walking away from all of it, like Magic Amy did, then it would be kind of a different story. Then Reddit would assume that justice was served, that Adwicto was 100% in the right, and that they have made the community better by weeding out this horrible Hearth Arena owner, thanks to this witch hunt that they created. But that's not actually what happened, is it? Like, there's two sides to the story.
Right.
But like, it's always like that. Like, there's always two sides to a story. There's always going to be people that try to stir up shit that rightfully shouldn't be stirred up, or that they're just lying about. And Reddit, like, when you read a Reddit post, you're on the page for 30 seconds. You're not going to fact check everything. It's not worth everybody's time. You're not like, oh, it's just, eventually it's going to happen to where people will justify it as, oh, I'm trying to make the community better. This pertains to the health of the community. This is why I'm making.
Yeah,
this
it's too easy to
post.
manipulate gossip to make it like to basically discredit somebody that you don't like. Like it goes back to the viewbot stuff. The internet has made it a lot easier as well, which is kind of funny because if you look over the past few years, there's a lot of talk about cyberbullying, and funny enough, that's kind of what it is. Whether or not you want to go back to that Trump video about cyberbullied, but it's like humiliation is real when just you have a mob of people who don't know anything about you. The only interaction they've ever got with you was through whatever it is that you made as content online. They don't, as you said, fact check, not necessarily because they don't want to, but because they can't even find the info. Very often you can't even find the info on the internet for half the stuff you look up, so it's very easy to just take at face value whatever somebody brings up about whatever, like another person or any topic. In fact, every subreddit has got a bunch of bullshit, then sometimes you'll have like a guy coming in to discredit whatever bullshit was peddled. But in the case of Hearthstone, the only people who can do that very often are the people being targeted, themselves. And if they don't want to, which will happen in the case of certain personality traits, you'll just never hear at the end of it. So the story will end, as you said, is that person walking away. And it ends up being a habit where I guess people start witch hunting as a way to fix the community. And it becomes kind of an ingrained thing where if one little small thing goes bad, you just bring it up. And the question I have as a follow-up to that is, what does it take for one person to be demonized? Like, what do they have to start doing before that person is considered witch huntable? Like, when are they a witch? Like, when do they start becoming that? Like, what's the offense they have to commit? That's the one thing I'm also a little curious about sometimes, because I don't even know half the time why.
Well, we keep talking about
it starts
individuals too.
Yeah.
I mean, does it? So here's an example. I mean, we should answer that. Well, let's answer that question first.
Sure.
It's what does it take for one person to be at the subject of one of these things? Is that what you mean?
The Masan thing is enough, apparently. Like, just being a Twitch streamer is enough with some fake views.
Yeah, so it's possibly something you can't even prove, I guess, is what you're saying. It's like you don't even know for sure that person is doing anything wrong, but it's
Right.
perceived as
Well,
a capital offense.
Yeah, I mean, like I've always felt that
Well, there is
it
evidence,
was somewhat of it is a waste of time trying to figure out if Masan, is doing the view botting himself. That's not the point. The point is that, he's the view botting is what's helping him, essentially get advertising, right?
Mm-hmm.
And whether people stay or not really dictates whether his stream is worth. It has entertainment value and things like that. Essentially, view botting is like what other companies do online when they buy ads, right? They spend a shitload of money. Or like in the mobile world, where I'm from, you'll buy a shitload of ads. You'll scale up the iOS charts, chart up to a top 25 game, and then if your game's good enough, over a period of time, it'll stay, like in the top 200 or 300, which is actually pretty good in the mobile industry. But if it sucks, it'll just drop all the way back down, to tens of thousands, whatever rank, right? And that's essentially what Masan's the view botting thing does. It's just it's like you buying ads, and then hopefully one day you just shut off the view bots, and then you just see how you end up. If you end up having a 2 or 3,000 concurrent view, then or stream, then you probably mission accomplished, right? But if you do it every single day, you know, that's when it starts becoming kind of weird, because when you start doing it every single day is when you start like landing sponsor deals and weird things like that. I don't know, but when it comes to view botting, it's just the disingenuousness of it, right? Like the people, the community just feel like they're being tricked or something like that, and I think that's when that's at least why they reacted the way they react to view botting. Unless I'm wrong, I don't know. You guys think?
So to answer Noxious' question, then
Yeah.
what's the bar?
I don't know what the minimum threshold is.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
that's what
like
I'm curious
it hasn't
what I'm
happened that
saying
many
is-
times.
What I'm
It's
saying
just
is, I
like-
don't give a shit like how often the witch hunting will happen. Let's say it only happens once a month, right? Let's say it doesn't become a daily thing. I
Okay.
don't care how often it happens. I'm saying that like in any capacity, it should be kept off the website, because yes, let's say that all three of us agree with you that in Masan's case, it's like good that that info is out there, right? I don't agree with that, but even if I did, hypothetically, I still would not want witch hunting on the subreddit, because like, yes, in this case it's fine, and then like 5 or 6 of these things down the line, one of them is just
Bogus,
an
I guess.
illegitimate accusation without sufficient evidence
Yeah.
that Redditors are going to take as sufficient evidence, and then somebody's life gets ruined. It's like, yeah, you can disprove it in a lot of ways no matter what the accusation is, but like,
Okay, so here's another example. What about the win trading thing? You know, that happened like a year ago
Yeah, I
or a year and a
remember
half
that.
ago. What do we do about
Blizzard banned like Blizzard banned several hundred accounts in China, or like several dozen. They banned the top 19 out of 20 ladder players. They banned like 10 people in NA. They banned Prodigy and all of that. They banned
Yeah, we had a guy
the
in
guy in
Insomnia.
Kazakhstan. They
even
banned
did that.
people before people
Before-
made posts about it.
Okay.
Like the first win trading post of all time was the very first season that they incorporated the Hearthstone ranked system, and it was by Razor and the other guy whose name I don't remember. I think it might have been started with an F. I don't think it was Fibonacci.
No,
Anyway,
no.
these two guys basically win traded.
Yeah, I
to get-
remember that. It was
to get legendary for the first
God.
time ever in Hearthstone.
Yeah.
And I know what you guys are saying, like it's hard to believe because TempoStorm.com wasn't around at the time, but trust me, these guys got legendary and they did it by win trading, and they made a post saying, hey, here's how we did it. We think that there might be a problem with the system. And it was 100% legitimate post to make. So anyway, that was the first time it happened, and then win trading happened and Blizzard banned people. It didn't take a Reddit shitstorm to do it. After Prodigy got banned, he made a Reddit shitstorm saying like, I don't
the greater
even want
good.
to play this game or whatever.
Yeah,
This game sucks.
right.
I just did it.
This
to prove a
game
point,
blows.
Blah, blah.
Right,
I remember like initially when like the WoW arena win trading started. There were a few posts of the White Knights, I guess you could put it that way, that were trying to shed light on it, but they engaged in the win trading to show how it worked. But it's not as though Blizzard's fucking retarded. Like these systems have always been obviously exploitable. But like witch hunting, the guys who are behind it, I guess, like it becomes an issue of like it's not really a public matter, because the name of the person who does it isn't necessarily as important as the flaw. So it's not so much about like, I think maybe the problem we've got with Hearthstone is it's not Masan we're against, it's the view botting, but it happens to be the case that the way Hearthstone's marketed is through big personalities, and as a result of that, they become public faces for people to associate with whatever bad things they do. So they have kind of a responsibility, a duty of responsibility, I guess. I'm not sure how to put it, but it's just people expect them to do better than they would expect of someone else to.
I think a counter argument to that is that
Sure.
like I totally, that's a very good point, right? Like Blizzard went and did that. You two know.
Yeah,
Noxious.
they did. No, they did.
But the Blizzard, they went in, they banned people, and that was the correct. Maybe somebody reported that this guy was cheating, and they looked into it, and they like took this request seriously, and they immediately looked into it. And that's like great, and that's how ideally it should be, but because we're in a world where people just report each other for no reason, whenever they're pissed, or BMing and shit like that and trolling people, that Blizzard or Twitch or whatnot, they're not going to take like 1 or 2 requests and it's like, okay, we should definitely put some resources into this and look into this immediately. I mean, that's not how it works, right?
Yeah,
So sometimes it takes like sometimes the community reporting these things, or the masses reporting these things, does bring it to light, and there are instances of that too. So I agree with you that there are instances where it can be abused, and it will burn somebody, but at the same time, there are instances where it does good too, like when this kind of thing happens. And r/Hearthstone being our community site is, I think, another very core issue to all this. What should be shown there and what it should act as. And I think so far the subreddit, the mods there, as much as shit you give them or we give them, they are trying their best, right, to make it as representative of the community as possible. Like, I like what they're doing with the streaming things on the side, like discover this person. That's like no other subreddit does that right now.
I think ultimately it comes down to, do I like the Hearthstone community or not? Because if the community wants this,
dude, that's every community is like this,
guys.
Suck,
or is the community good?
Every community, come on, guys. Every community has drama. Every community,
sure,
upvotes that shit. I mean, StarCraft,
if they're asking
CS:GO, League of Legends.
In that favor, then I guess it comes down to, do I just disagree with the community and what they like? Do I think they're retarded? Do I perhaps just agree with them? I guess that's pretty much the disagreement, and where it stems from is, like, maybe the Reynad just doesn't like what the community wants to see on the Hearthstone subreddit, and they wish they would air their concerns about drama elsewhere. That's probably like how it kind of comes down to. What it comes down to.
R4 becomes HS drama, basically.
Yeah, easy. Like, you find everything you need over there. Easy.
Yeah, I guess so. But yeah, so
I think
we'll
most
agree
of
to
the stuff we
disagree.
discussed today is completely off topic and entirely irrelevant to what the point even was.
Okay.
But what you just said, though, Noxious, yeah, that was on point for sure. I don't know, Chris, you said some stuff that some bad can come of this type of behavior and some good can come of it. My counter argument is, when has good ever come of it? You're seeing them sound stuff happening right now as like a good outcome, when in reality it's like botting for 2 years. Like,
I'm not saying it's good or bad with Nissan. I'm not pointing at Nissan
right. So what's a
specifically,
case where it's been good? What's a case where this type of like targeted witch hunting thing, where Reddit was the only possible way to solve it, rather than going through official channels, and this was the solution?
I mean, there's been instances where organizations haven't paid players. You know what I mean? And which or I mean, in Hearthstone.
Not so much in Hearthstone.
I mean, there was one with Tides, right? Tides mentioned something like once, like a long time. But in other games, there's been instances where basically players have been trying to get their money for a long time and then they got into the point where they aired it.
I know what you're talking about. Do you know what the Reddit post that you're talking about was a link to? It was a link to a newspaper article about esports athletes taking over a year to get paid from Chinese tournaments.
Yeah, I remember that.
Oh, you're talking about Tides, right? Yeah, the Tides one.
Yeah, and my argument there is that stuff, first of all, isn't even related to witch hunting individuals at all, so that's not an example. But even if
we're talking about censorship. We're not talking about. Okay, I mean, that's what I was saying. Like,
even if you were using that as an example of like when singling out individuals has resulted in a net benefit for the community, I would argue that was just a post to a news article, so that was already public information, right? That was like a Daily Dot article, or I don't remember the exact news.
Pretty sure it was Daily Dot, yeah, back then.
Mm-hmm.
But like the basically, like, what I'm asking is the type of behavior that I'm saying should not be on the Hearthstone subreddit. Can you give me an example of when that kind of behavior has done good
on the Hearthstone subreddit?
Yes.
I mean, because the thing is, I guess exposing an organization for not paying players is not the same as witch hunting a single person.
Right.
I
I'm
guess.
totally okay with exposing organizations.
Sure, an organization is a very different thing than an individual. Is kind of what we're getting at here. I think that's pretty much hitting the.
Right. I don't want targeted witch hunts that, like, if you're linking a media piece, like a news article about like an organization doing something scummy, that's totally fine if it pertains to Hearthstone. When you are a like 17-year-old keyboard warrior or whatever, and you're like gathering all of this circumstantial bullshit that only feeds the narrative that you want, and you post it as evidence, and your other like 17-year-old idiots on Reddit are like, oh gee, that looks legit, let me upvote this. And just like results in whoever this individual being targeted is like being, I don't know, it's really shitty to like allow that. Like, it just ruins them.
So targeting individuals is a no-go, but organizations fine. I guess is the
Yeah,
way we
is
could
the sum of it.
put it. Yeah, that's kind of how I look at this. Then.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, it's not even an individual versus organization thing. It's like you can target, like, it's fine to post an article, like a news article of an individual doing something scummy if it pertains to Hearthstone, you know? If
So I mean that's because the journalists, I guess, figured out.
in dogfighting or whatever, like you know, that's a hell of an article. But
What?
I'm not going to like, I'm not going to like take a picture of my dog and take a picture of Ben Brode and like
I mean, and make a
crop them
meme out of it.
together in MS Paint and like make an imagery album of this shit and be like, here's my evidence that Ben Brode is a scumbag. Like, no, those kind of posts are what should be off, you know, or kept off the subreddit.
Well, I definitely don't disagree with that, like for sure.
Well, that's what the Masson thing is, but you want the Masson thing
I
because in that case he's probably guilty, right? So like, what I'm saying is there's going to be a time when they're not guilty, 100%.
Yeah, I think
Because of
that's what
that
comes with
alone
it
is enough
too.
reason to keep it off.
God. Okay, well we'll have to agree to disagree there. At least I think we do agree on certain things. It's just I think like black and white. There are certain things that are just generally black and white. If we're having to go black and white, we're definitely on different places there. But that's how it is. Like I think the general community is like that too. I don't think like the entire community like disagrees with you, right? And but one thing's for sure, like the response from the mod to you and just and all that stuff was definitely wrong.
Dude,
You
that
know,
was fucking
and-
out of place.
yeah,
I
that
don't
was
know, man.
definitely
That was
out of
fucking
place. Yeah,
It turns out he's still a mod, actually. Still,
yeah,
people
that
Really?
with that character and
No fucking
decision
way.
making and people capable of those judgment calls are still in charge of what goes on in that subreddit.
Okay.
yeah.
If
Well,
you
he
had half
shouldn't.
the
He shouldn't be.
spines
That's
that
odd.
he did
That's weird.
to make shit up about me when it came to like saying no to a mob of teenagers, then I think the subreddit would be a better place.
Shit.
But
I mean, even if it wasn't making up stuff, like he just shouldn't ever respond. Like no mod should be responding to anybody, any of us like that. So,
It doesn't make sense.
it was
Whether you're a
personal
community
attacks. They
member-
should not personally attack
Like,
any of us. I mean, that's just
yeah.
I mean, look at the post when I made that video. The comments for the first like 5 hours were like overwhelming support in favor of what I was saying, and you look at it now and it's like 90%. Here's why Reynad's a scumbag, and this is why his opinion's wrong. Or no, this is why Reynad's a scumbag, and because of that, his opinion is wrong, or because of that, his opinion's irrelevant. So that's like if
Yeah,
you
that's
And
pretty
actually
you
much
think
what it
that's
boils down to.
because of
Oh, yeah,
of
it
his
is.
post?
Oh, it is. It is.
Okay. Oh, really?
Because subreddit's
Noxious, you
full of
think
a
that's
bunch
it?
of idiots, and like those idiots are the people that get to decide what comes of people's reputations.
I'm not saying it wouldn't have gone negative otherwise. I'm just saying it definitely just started off a huge snowball effect. That's for sure.
Well, it
I mean,
started
it's
off
true,
very
it's true.
positive, right? If the snow
Yeah, at the beginning it
effect was in
was.
effect, everyone would be behind me, but it's just not.
Yep.
Right? It's
Yeah.
That
was a
this
negative
should be
snowball
like
going up,
the
I
outcome, though, right? Like if somebody tells you you're like a terrible person, your response is not going to be to agree with them. Your response naturally, for like
Argue, I
average
guess.
stupid person would be like, no, you're terrible, and then that's like
No, you're terrible.
will work.
No, you're
True.
terrible.
It's like straight down to our ancestors, just how we've evolved. If I throw poop at someone, they're gonna throw poop back. That's like how monkeys
Flinging
work.
feces
That's
around
how
the room,
people work.
like very evolved primates. I like it.
Oh man.
Get
All
a
right.
feces slinging contest.
Well, let's move on to our last segment that we always do, Q&A. Just to see what kind of questions everybody has here.
Sure.
For those of you that might have missed like us the first few minutes of the show where I linked where the questions are asked, go ahead and link them here, or you can tweet ValueTown here. Tweet at ValueTownGG, and we'll start asking some questions here. All right, we got a couple of them. GP Lessard asks, do you think Blizzard should sell starter decks, like Magic's starter decks, dual decks, to help improve the new player experience? Like those in Magic, they could feature a legend and a few uncommons, which would bolster a collection.
Bolster. Well done, sir. Yeah, kind of. I like the idea personally.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. I think it's a good way for new players to catch up on all the new cards that are out.
Yeah, I think so too. That'd definitely be good. All right, Payman Horbani from Cape Cod. What do you think about tournament mode that's a combination of Brawl Arena mechanics already in the game? So you can spend money or gold, you can build a deck, then you can queue up at any time during the week and keep playing until you lose 3 times. This would be much better if they could have you build 3 decks and you could play best 2 out of 3, but that's for future, I hope. It's an interesting idea, changing the arena basically.
Well,
Or,
do they
or,
mean like
or making the Brawl like the arena, I guess.
okay, so you build multiple decks within it, and you get to choose. I thought what he meant is you go in Tavern Brawl and you have an arena draft to make, and I'm like, that's pretty awesome. But again, it's like the Discover thing. They kind of made that happen recently with the Discover Brawl.
Yeah, that's true.
But the whole idea of having multiple decks to choose from when you're doing the arena could be kind of nice. Like I kind of like the idea of not having to go and hit retire when I don't want to play that hunter deck that I built, and instead I'd rather play one of the other ones, and so I could rotate between those. It'd be nice, I guess.
I would like any development on an arena at all, even if it's just a little
Anything,
number by the name
yeah,
for a rank.
absolutely.
Like just any, like I would prefer arena over constructed. If I just had any reason to play it.
Ladder, or just ranking system.
Did you give me golden cards for each? Like every single time I hit 12 wins or like 10 plus, I can choose one card in my list that whenever I play it next is going to be golden. And the idea is just that you try to get like, something ridiculous like that. So you just get the entire collection golden in arena means you've basically just been dominating everything. Like a golden wisp would mean you're a master troll. I don't know. I think it would be pretty awesome.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool. I think those are all good ideas, and I'm sure they've been throwing around some of those ideas. The Tavern Brawl for sure seems to be like unfinished. You know what I mean? Like the main part of it is, I mean, I'm not unfinished, but I mean like the wins, right? There's like this whole win counter, but it doesn't seem to lead to anything. That's what I meant by unfinished. But the actual gameplay is great. You know, like it's developed and working well. Like I think everybody's having fun with it. But yeah, the win counter just seems to be like, okay, it's there, but it doesn't lead to anything. So they're probably going to be doing something with that very, very soon.
Achievements are coming.
Yeah, something like that, right?
Know it.
Okay, Lucas Nemeth. So we're looking at Twitter here. Lucas Nemeth Anderson asks, "How well does Freeze Mage fit in the current meta?" Can I have Reynad answer? Wow,
do that,
request Reynad.
It's pretty good. It's either, I would say it's the second best mage deck for laddering behind Tempo, but they're really close to each other. They're both really good. You get kind of like a free win every time you play against Secret Paladin. Unless they're a really aggressive list, but that's unlikely. And then, you have a bunch of other good matchups as well. One thing that makes it a little worse than it was at a period last month is that now you're starting to see a lot more Warrior finally. So, those matchups are going to be auto lose as always, but the deck is pretty good overall against other decks being played right now.
All right. Alexis Labros asks, is it even possible to recruit new players for Hearthstone teams right now? There seems to be almost no movement in the scene. Ooh, that's a good one. That's actually something that might lead to another discussion point. But
so what happens every year, or what has happened every year up until this year, is Blizzard has basically offloaded all of their esports stuff until the last 3 months leading up to BlizzCon. So around that time of year, you see just a ton of tournaments, and then as soon as BlizzCon's over, then it's the holidays and no one's really doing tournaments, and then it's the January, no one's really doing tournaments, and it'll start picking up now over the course of the next couple months. But basically this is just a quiet time of year as far as tournaments happening, so there's no reason why a player would stand out to an organization that if that player wouldn't have stood out 5 months ago, because there just hasn't been an event to prove yourself. And there hasn't been a reason to have Hearthstone players because there's no exposure right now.
Yeah, this is the OGN that went on recently, but even still, it's the names that you already knew, as you said previously. So the tournament started a while back. The players that are in the scene are still through that, so makes sense.
Do you think there are enough tournaments right now that are proving grounds? Because there's still a lot of invites and shit, but they're more. I think a lot of tournaments have some slots that are open bracket type of thing.
It's a very complicated question because I could rant about this forever.
Yeah, we're gonna have a show just on that.
For sure, we're gonna be talking about this probably next.
So we'll
the
save
bullet
it.
points in a nutshell are
we'll save it.
Maybe I'll save
we'll save it. We'll save it.
Save it. Better idea.
Okay, Justin Caraway, do you think if Control Priest had a couple more good cards, like a good 4-drop, it would
No.
be top tier?
No, don't make this better than it is. Like you can't have a control meta game as long as Entomb exists. Like that just you can't.
Oh
for
god,
now.
Entomb
Like,
is
if
ridiculously
if they
good.
make anything more
ridiculous.
control priest oriented cards, I fear you'll
Yeah.
just gouge your eyes out when you queue up. And I'm a priest main that I just love the class more
Yeah,
than
me
anything
too.
else. But if they give them anything, I don't know, control oriented that's better than, well, I mean they could give it better stuff, but it can't be a solid card that you just kind of auto include. God, please no, just no.
What? Man,
Yeah.
Paladin's full of those cards, man. What do you mean?
I mean, anything can happen scares me too. Funny enough, like I think anything can happen, and the Entomb cards, like these two are
Yeah.
the single most, like there's the biggest entry barriers to having a control metagame at any given point. As long as these two exist, you can't have control be a thing.
Wow. Okay, anything can happen. Yeah. Okay. Ray,
It's just weird.
what are your thoughts?
What's the question?
What are your thoughts
Control
on
Priest.
just Control Priest? Do you think they need any more cards like a? He
Oh.
gave an example of a 4-drop.
It needs a 2-drop. The
Mhm.
Yeah.
Curator is not a 2-drop. Like the
Yeah,
card that Control
it's-
Priest has needed forever is just a vanilla 2-mana 2/4.
Yeah, just
It's
some kind of
so
Or
tempo.
staging it without dragons.
Some
basically,
tempo
which is-
play, right? Yeah.
Just a vanilla 2/4, no text for 2. It would be perfect. And then Priest would be a fantastic deck.
Yeah.
By the way, there is a Hearthstone pro player that got picked up by a team in chat that they noticed. Mira got picked up by
By
Archon.
Archon, that's right. That's right.
Oh
He's
yeah,
the
yeah,
best
that's true.
player on
If
their
I
roster.
could get picked up by Complexity, Mira can get picked up by Archon.
Oh, Mir. Oh, I didn't even realize what you said. Okay, cool. Gotcha. Do you think we need something like fantasy point system that exists in Smite? Ooh, I'm not very familiar with that.
Me neither.
Okay.
But fantasy's cool. I mean, LCS has their own version too. It's just a way to make like more audience engagement based off of.
Yeah, what would you
your
do?
esports
What would
scene.
we do like in Hearthstone? Like what would be the stats for fantasy
Blowback
points?
would be a good one.
Oh, what? Flow. Oh god.
Oh
What?
no.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. Just
Oh man.
PvP Live is like the biggest counter argument to having fantasy in Hearthstone.
pretty fucking much. I have nothing else to add.
Oh
That's-
my
It's just
god,
not the game
dude.
for it, you know.
Yeah, it's hard to evaluate. Like, I mean, you'd have to have crazy difficult metrics to even form an algorithm that could calculate those. And if you take them individually, it's just gonna be like an opinion piece, basically.
right.
I remember I was talking to Alpha Draft a lot, like right before the ATLC, and they were talking about how they were trying to do the fantasy for that, and it's like
Yeah.
super complicated. The types of things you have to try to make up for the game. So yeah, it's not really a natural fit for Hearthstone.
Yeah, it's not natural, but it'd be pretty interesting if something creative came up. You know, somebody almost created a very, just a very different take on it. Just take on the game. In terms of making it a fantasy viable thing.
Number of Doctor Booms in the
Yeah,
meta.
that's kind of where Vulcan got
Nothing
in
to
trouble.
act like nothing. Like maybe keeping track of cards or archetypes could be like one of the ways to do it.
Yeah, or some type of value system. Like I don't know, you're developing
That's
value by the
tough.
way you. I don't know.
It's too much.
Yeah, it'd have to be crazy creative. Is the current reward system at the end of the season incentive enough to try to hit legend or anything above rank 20? I'd say no, but that's just my person.
Well,
I don't
the
even think
chest
about
is
it.
Fun. The chest is fun, but the thing
Yeah.
is, if you're getting to the point where you gain the chest as a reward, do you need the cards? And if you need them, you don't need them to compete, maybe, unless you want to switch archetypes. So I feel like probably not. I don't know.
I mean, hitting legend, I don't think it matters, but maybe if you're like trying to get one of the lower chests, like you're rank 20, trying to get
Sure.
just those lower chests, that's a bigger deal, I think, than me getting an extra golden card. I mean, Rhea has all the golden cards, so he doesn't give a shit, right?
I don't like to think about that.
What? I
like
don't like to
there's
think
one
about
thing
how
I
much
get
my
more
decks
Money
are
than I care to
worth.
admit on the game.
Yeah, it's all
I
right.
spent like thousands of dollars
I know.
on Candy Crush Saga, and then I spent all day, every day complaining about it.
Wait. You've spent thousands. Oh, no, you're talking about this game.
I've-
Okay, I was going to say, I thought you meant for
Hearthstone,
real.
yeah,
I was like, what the fuck?
I think I've
Jeez.
spent at least 3,000. It has to be at least 3,000.
On the game? Oh, God.
Yeah.
That's definitely...
I must be up
More
there.
than me.
Like I don't even know anymore, but yeah, it's.
I'm not 3,000, that's for sure. But, yeah, definitely up there, too. what are the thoughts on changing? No, that's not a good. I was gonna say, what are our thoughts on changing Innkeeper AI decks to be better matched than what the meta is like? Oh my god.
Well met. Well met.
Exactly,
Like,
right.
that's all you see.
Oh,
all
what do you
day.
guys? Yeah, what do you guys think about the whole like emotes, like them adding some more of those?
I wish
cool.
they had more.
Yeah, I wish they did too, man. I didn't realize how much I liked that Wintervale, the whole Wintervale emote until they took it away. Man, that sucked. Okay, well, I think that's gonna be it for questions. Thanks for writing those in, everybody that got a chance to. But why don't we go into some shout outs and wrap the show for this week? Noxious, want to do any shout outs?
Yeah, shout out to Complexity, I guess, as usual, and
I
people
guess.
that I work with.
I
I guess. I mean, I
Wow.
never shout out. It's the first time
Okay.
I ever shout out to anything
Okay.
ever. So, yeah, shout out to the Complexity team has been supporting me for a while. And I guess the sponsors that I've got just picked up Soylent, so I guess that's cool. Pretty nice.
All right, awesome. Ray?
Is that a team sponsor or individual?
Not even, it's just individual.
Oh, I know you have a
Cool.
code for that,
I asked
right?
Kibler
Come on,
about
you have a
that.
code
Yeah,
for that.
Kibler and Hafu. Did you go through their
Yeah.
agency?
You have a code for Soylent, right?
Yeah.
You can plug that. What is it?
Nox.
Nox. There we go.
Stupidest
Nox, guys.
code. Yeah, it's super
Nox. All
simple.
right. Ray, shout outs.
Yeah, shout out to Noxious. Cool to have you on the show from now on, and Chris, and yeah, shout out to the Hearthstone
I
Silver
knew you were
mods.
gonna say that.
Playing hard
Great
to
job. Yeah.
get. Yeah, that's it. Really exciting new announcement coming for Hearthstone in general. Stay tuned for that. That's gonna be like
So Blizzard or
a
Tempo
week
Storm?
from now.
Blizzard or Tempo Storm?
Not.
Neither.
I mean, it's sort of Tempo Storm, but not really. It's like, it's cool, man. It's cool. It's us
Temple
doing.
Stone.
Okay,
Is
I'm
that
just
what's
trying to
coming
figure
out?
out where it's.
It's a new
I'm trying to
game.
figure out where it's
It's
coming
like a
from because
match
you're so
three-
you're
it's
so
a match
like
three game,
vague
match
about it.
Faces of Hydegar and Reynad. It's like Temple Stone. and
It'll be
it's
cool,
just-
man.
Tempo
Yeah, microtransactions.
Tempo.
Us
Working
doing
on
a
a new
Blizzard
game,
shit
guys.
is step one.
Okay, all right. So next week you said, or soon, or
Yeah, like a week from now.
soon trade TM. Okay, cool.
Cool.
Yeah, big thanks to you guys, Reynad and Noxious. Thanks for doing the show with me, and hopefully we'll have some great upcoming episodes for Value Town. Big shout out to Tempo Storm, obviously, for sponsoring the show with their sponsor Stoogie 2A and Twitch. Again, there's a Patreon for Value Town, patreon.com/ValueTown. It's your way of supporting the show if you guys enjoy it and want to continue seeing it each and every week. And lastly, the VODs will be available on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/ChanManV, about 30 minutes to 45 minutes after the show ends. And I think that's it, guys. I guess we'll see you guys next week. It'll be the same time. It's Wednesday, 1 p.m. That's going to be the same time we do it for 2016. So be ready for that. Let everybody know. And we'll see you next week. Peace.
Have a nice one.